I was thinking before we got on here. I tried my hardest to dislike Eminem. When he comes
I
out with his
know.
political shit, dude. And then that song "White America" came on. I don't know if you remember that one from one of
Oh
them. Oh
yeah,
my god, dude, that bitch. Dude, you listen to that shit, it'll make you want to just destroy something.
I
It's
know.
it's it's crazy, and I'm thinking, how can you not like this dude? I'm listening to that shit. White
I know,
America,
cause
and I'm like,
I'm with
oh, geez,
you.
it
I do
goes
the
so hard.
same thing. I'm like, fuck you,
Yeah, I'm like,
motherfucker. And
fuck
then,
Eminem, and then one of his songs come on, and I'm like,
like,
okay.
no, never mind, never
Well,
mind.
and I seen
It's like one
him
day.
and him and Kid Rock came out, and said, I don't know if you saw that video that I posted about,
Yeah,
him. Yeah, basically, saying that it's okay to for Eminem to have his political beliefs or whatever. And I'm thinking that's one of the only people you'll ever hear Kid Rock say that about for some reason. He wasn't fucking with Eminem, you know. But yeah,
yeah. He don't want
I
to get
was
in that
just
rap battle.
no, I was just listening to that song, man. He's something one of them lines about these activists when they're ragging, acting like I'm the first rapper to smack a bitch and say fat.
Yeah,
Like damn, but he goes so hard on it, dude.
he really does. And
Yeah,
it,
that
it's
was the M. Like everybody was like, "Holy
yeah.
shit."
It was like fuck anybody that doesn't like my lyrics.
Yeah,
Like any controversy. Fuck it. I don't care. Like it was. I don't know. It was awesome.
yeah.
And then
Well,
he went
then he
woke.
comes out. Yeah, he's like, vote Kamala, and I'm thinking, man, fuck him. And then one of his songs come on. I'm like, go him.
Yeah, it's like this is the shit in your songs you was screaming
That
about back in the day, you
isn't
know?
that something how it changed? I mean, it went from him bitching about because that's basically that in that song "White America," he was talking about the government wanting to shut him down and the
Yeah.
controversies he was causing and people picketing outside of his concerts and shit because of the lyrics. And now he's on the side that is trying to silence people. It's so weird how he made that flip, and a lot of people have. It wasn't just him.
Yeah. And I don't get it. I don't understand how you join the side that tries to silence people and
Yeah,
oh, you can't say that, it's
yeah.
offensive. Especially when you were writing songs with lyrics like he was.
Yeah,
But
yeah, and that's what I mean. That was a good point you brought. I didn't even think about that. I mean, it's the same people that he was fighting against back then, man. And that's a
mhm.
lot of these older rock musicians. They were all like the liberal hippies, like less
Yeah.
government. You know what I mean? And now they've made a total 180 to where the government, no, they need to control everything. You know what I
Yep.
mean? It's so weird how they made that change, and I don't know what goes through their mind. I mean, I guess they think they're doing the right thing, but it's like somebody like Marshall Mathers over there. Like, what do you see out of what's going on with this way this
Yeah.
political shit is right now to pick that side? You know what I mean?
Right. I don't know.
No.
I guess
But I'm waiting to
that
see
black and
the
white got to him.
I'm waiting to see the backlash or and the praise with Tony Hinchcliffe because I didn't know he was going to be at Trump's rally.
Mm.
And then I'm scrolling X and I'm looking and I'm like, God damn, he did like a whole opening act before the rally today in New York.
Right.
And I'm like, good God. Like, I mean, I kind of knew a lot of the comedians lean that way, but for them to come out like he did, I mean, he just was full force, like, this is who I support, standing at the podium, cracking jokes and shit. And I was like, damn, that's pretty
Yeah.
good, man. Because
That's
Kill
awesome.
Tony's one of the biggest, I think it's the biggest live podcast in the world, I want to
It's
say,
gotta be.
no, I think
It's
that's
gotta
what
be.
it is. Like, I think that's a fact, that Joe
Yeah.
Rogan's like the number one podcast, but Kill Tony's live.
Right.
And I want to say he's doing it out of Austin now. He done moved to Texas and,
Yeah.
got the hell out of California. So, I mean, he's
It's
doing his
good.
thing. It's good to see people that on them platforms like that step up and not be afraid to, voice their opinion for that side,
Right.
because nobody should be afraid no matter what side you're on. I mean,
You
you
really
shouldn't have
shouldn't.
to, yeah, you shouldn't have to be concerned about saying this is what I stand for. And that's kind of what Kid Rock was saying to Eminem. But, if that were anybody but Eminem, he'd have been on there like, fuck them, and,
Yeah.
whatever else Kid Rock fucking says. But I guess, like I said, he ain't fucking, they're both being from Detroit and all. He wasn't fucking with Eminem. I
Yeah.
think he wants what little bit of career he's got left, I guess. But
Makes sense.
anyway, yeah. But the big news, of course, the Rogan Trump podcast.
That did happen.
You, that's what I heard. That's what somebody asked me today. Of course, it was a female. What was the big like? What was all the news about the Trump going on Rogan's pod? Like they just didn't get it. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
where's the hype?
Oh, you were there. I forgot. Yeah,
I
you were
was.
there when she said it. Yeah, and it was
Uh,
like, oh, dude, they. I don't know. I guess when you don't pay attention to this kind of shit, you don't look at it like
yeah,
that. But I mean, as soon as that news broke, everybody was like, "Holy fuck!" Like Trump's going on Rogan.
right. Like, whoa, let's wait. Like, I
Yeah,
can't wait to hear it. And
I know.
it was
Well, yeah. What did you take from it?
it was different.
Good and bad.
It
What did you take from it?
Trump's easy to laugh at. I like his business mindedness and like he can fix the economy, but dude, he's like a squirrel when you're trying to ask him questions. Like he
Yeah.
starts and then he just
Like he sees
yeah
one. A squirrel.
yeah, dude. Like if you just ask me the question you just did, and it's like, oh yeah, it was a good podcast, and actually, my buddy was telling me about this podcast, probably about a year ago or so, and it
Yeah.
was a very good podcast, and we were driving down the road. We were headed to Lafayette, and we had the radio, and it's like, whoa, 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 hey, yo,
Yep.
you know.
Yeah. Focus. Focus. Yeah.
So
And I don't know if that's purposely done by Trump or if that's just how he is. You know what I mean? But yeah,
yeah,
you couldn't get a bead on anything. You know what I mean? Like
right,
any question Rogan would ask, there was just no, well, this is what it is answer. You know what I
yes,
mean? I'm with you. If Rogan brought up anything and the word car came up, well, Trump would give you about 5 or 6 words into the answer, and then he'd say, speaking of, I mean, I'm thinking about cars, and I'm like, what the fuck, like,
yeah.
it was, I don't know, it
There
hit
were a
different.
few that kinda were on point that he would kinda, get on the right
Yeah,
track, but a lot of it, and I'm glad that it was Joe Rogan asking the questions because after, about 45 seconds, he's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, but this is,
right.
I'm trying to figure this out, da, da, da," and eventually down the road, he'd get an answer, but,
If
yeah,
he would even get one, it was kind of
yeah.
like I heard Rogan talking today. He was doing another podcast, and he had 2 or 3 guys on this one, and they were asking him about the interview with Trump, and
Mhm.
he's like, one of his main questions, which was the first one he started off with, what's it like the
Oh
first day
god.
you become president of the most fucking powerful country in the world? What is it like? And he's like, I still don't think I got an answer.
He
You know what I
didn't.
mean? He never really gave an answer. He kind of gave a couple of things that might go on, but then he'd veer off, or
Yeah,
what do you
he's
call it?
like,
He'd weave, he'd weave, and yeah,
he wouldn't.
I, it was a lot of buildup and a little. I don't want to say disappointment. It's probably the wrong word, but it was
Mhm.
more like I thought it was going to be a better question and answer session. And I know
Yeah.
Rogan, he doesn't interview people, so to say,
Right.
but I just thought it was going to be a little better. Like, hey, what is this? How does this work? What does this do? And Trump
Yeah.
just will not. He just cannot help but control the conversation and do it his way,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, and I guess it didn't bother me a ton because it wasn't a Trump interview. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
wasn't a
yeah, yeah, yeah.
political interview. It was just, you know, I've got Trump on the podcast. Let's
Yeah.
talk, da 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 da. But I did like you said from the very first question. I was like, all right, that kind of sets the tone. Like I know how this is gonna go because oh
Yeah.
well, your first day as president, how was it? Well, we were driving down whatever street in New
And then
York we
squirrel.
was in, and I was trying to wave at the people, but it's kind of
Yeah,
dangerous,
yeah.
not a good idea. So I really couldn't roll
Yeah.
down the window, and I'm looking at this big hotel. We just built a hotel. We called it
Oh,
the Trump Hotel. Yeah, magnificent building, magnificent. We're
I'll
driving
build
past it,
yeah,
and
we
I'm
put
like,
yeah.
what the
That's
fuck does
exactly how
that?
the answers were. I mean,
Was?
everything was a story. And look, that does great when you're standing in front of them massive crowds like he does, because
Hmm.
that's what keeps people intrigued, because Trump will go off the cuff. He'll have a teleprompter there, but you can tell when he gets off of it.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people like about him. But so, like with this one, I wanted more. Like I wanted Rogan to be able to pull more out of Trump, and I think
Right.
Rogan was trying his hardest, but he just had to let it go at some point. And I
Yeah.
noticed in the comments, Ed said 10 million views in 5 hours. It's very fucking impressive. The
That mother
views are
had
just
views.
crazy. Yeah, but I just think it left a lot, to be desired, I guess, and by no fault of Rogan. I mean, he can only
Yeah.
do what he can do. I mean, I think he was fighting a losing battle with trying to control what you're going to get Trump to say. And I posted a video about it afterwards. I mean, I get it from Trump's view. I mean, you got to watch what you say. You
Mhm.
give direct answers, and they're going to hold your feet to the fire if you vary off of that, in any way at all.
Yeah.
Or they're going to take little snippets of it and turn it into bullshit. So I'm waiting on him to start going off the media with how he was praising Robert E. Lee. You know what I
He
mean?
was too.
Yeah, he was
He
because
said he
look,
had to keep him away from the oil section, you know?
well, yeah, and what he was saying was true. I mean, Robert E. Lee was known as one of the greatest
Oh,
generals to ever. So it doesn't change that fact just because you don't like him and you
and
think that the rebel flag and all that controversy. So that's kind of all
and he
Trump was
said
getting
that,
at.
and
Yeah.
he said that. He said, "Watch, they're gonna turn it. They're gonna,
Hmm.
oh, Trump loves Robert E. Lee, and he
Yeah.
was just
Yeah.
like,
And
no, he
look,
was a
man.
great general when it came to strategy.
And it was like he said, and it's true. The North wanted him to join, and he
Yeah.
was like, "I can't. I gotta. I'm down with my state. Basically, I
Mhm.
can't just leave my state." So
Yeah,
it
and
wasn't like he
like,
was fighting to keep slavery. He was just, hey, this
no,
is where I'm from. I'm
and
not leaving my state.
honestly, I think I mentioned this. I don't know if I mentioned it on the podcast or not, but like the Civil War, it had nothing to do with abolishing slavery. Like it wasn't like, hey,
Oh no, you about to open? Oh, here we
hey,
go. That's it.
we're
We're
gonna
getting
fight
banned,
this
canceled.
war.
That's it.
Y'all are getting rid of your slaves, and no, we're
No, that was
not.
a
Let's go to
very
war. It was, hey, the rest of the states that joined the Union are not going to be slave states. Yes, they are. And there was some other shit that went with it, but the North
a
had
lot of shit.
slaves at the time. And the only
Of course they
reason
did.
they wouldn't even let black people fight in the war, the Civil War, they wouldn't do it until they were losing. And then they were like,
Yeah, yeah,
well, and then after the fact, when it was like, hey, we need them, it's like, well, why don't we put something in there that, will free them if we win? And
yeah.
it's
It's
like, well, that's kind of enticing to make their group fight for us. That sounds good.
well, yeah, because all you ever see in the history books is that it was a war over slavery, and there was
Right.
so much more to it. A lot of it was states' rights. It was like,
Yeah.
the South didn't want to be told what to do. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? And then, like you said, it wasn't like the North was innocent. Like the South was the
Yeah.
only place that was enslaving people. I mean, it was just it's what the wealthy did when they needed shit done back then. They were victims
Absolutely.
of their time because a lot of them like George Washington and all, and even, like Robert E. Lee or whoever else, it wasn't like they were terrible people. They were just victims of their circumstances back then because it was looked at as that's just how you got things done. Now we
Right.
all look at it, we judge it from our mindset nowadays, which is like, my God, it's horrible to enslave
Yeah.
people. You know what I mean? But back then it was just what you did, and not trying to defend them, but I'm saying that they didn't know any different. Now, once
Hmm.
they started to progress in the country, people started realizing, okay, this shit's wrong. We got to change
Yeah.
this, and it
Exactly.
eventually
And that's how
changed.
it works with time. You realize shit's wrong. And like Ed said, from what I gather from it, that's pretty much exactly what it had to do with was, you know, this state that comes in the next at the beginning it was like, all right, well, this state's a north state. All right, now we have 10 and 9. All right, the next one will be a south state. Okay, well, the next one will be a north state, and they were even in the numbers, so they had, even voting. And
Right,
then the North started pushing that, oh, well, the next states that come in past this line are going to be, northern states or whatever they would call them at the time. And the South was like, well, no, because then y'all are just going to outvote us on everything. What do you mean? You're going to have 15 states to our fucking nine, you know?
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, anyway.
So, well, basically, yeah. Well, I guess where we got off on that is waiting on the media to run with how much he was praising Robert E. Lee. You know what I
Right.
mean? I'm surprised I haven't seen more of that. Uh, what else did they touch on? The UFO shit, which I
They
don't
did.
expect Trump to come out, whether that or not, to just give out every secret that the government has. But he all but said,
Yeah,
I mean, that
absolutely.
I knew Rogan was going to hit him with that. The Kennedy shit, man, I don't know, man. I don't like how they're handling that because I don't give a fuck who's still alive. Because you notice his
Hmm.
answer was, well, you
Yep.
can't open up. And it's like, who gives a fuck if they did shit that was against the law or against that they shouldn't have done. It doesn't matter if they're
Right.
still living. Throw their fucking names
Exactly.
out.
Yeah, fuck
But
them.
that lets you know right there how heavily involved the government was in that
Yeah,
Kennedy
because he
assassination.
said it.
There's
He was like,
no question.
some people asked me politely not to
Yeah.
unseal it,
He's like, I looked at some of it. I believe he read all of it
I
myself.
think he
If
did
they
too.
even look, they may not have gave that motherfucker access to it. He may just be saying that, but it's like, why would you read part of it of the Kennedy assassination? And because somebody asks you not to read the rest, you say, well, all right, that'd be like me having it sitting right in front of me, and you say, "Man, don't read that." Okay,
Right.
fuck.
Yeah,
He's
I
lying
appreciate
one way
that.
or another. He either read all of that shit, or they never even let him open it. I don't believe
Yeah.
you would read part of that and then just say, "Well, so and so called me and said don't do this."
And
You know what I
my
mean?
thing was like, if that was the worry, well, people that are still living, addresses, redact it.
Yes,
Take addresses
at
out,
least
take
the
names out. Like, I don't
at
give a
least the
fuck
living.
about names. Like, I'm not gonna know who any of these fucking
Yeah,
people are. I'm not gonna have access to them anyway. You know what I mean? But it's
yeah,
like,
yeah,
put the
yeah.
story out.
Yeah, redact the living. I see what you're saying. But if they did something criminal, why the fuck shouldn't they have to? You know what I mean?
Well, it's like if
But
it's
how do they
either
get away with
redacted or
this?
don't put it out. Hey, redact it. Fuck
Yeah,
it. You know?
yeah. I guess if you have to choose one, yeah, because I mean it. But he said all you had to say. You know what I mean? As far as
Hmm.
knowing exactly what happened, that Lee Harvey Oswald wasn't the mastermind behind this shit, which we all
Right.
kind of figure anyway. But like I said, they all but answered that. You know
Oh
what I
yeah.
mean? I mean, just
Yeah.
as
He
as
was.
as much as they even before the Trump thing, just as much as they've had this on just locked down this information, there was
Right.
some shit going
And
on.
you can tell when he like doesn't care too much about his answer. Like he's like, I'm not gonna get myself in trouble with this question, whatever. And then with questions like that, he was like, well,
Yeah,
he
yeah,
knows. He knows what he can answer and
yeah.
what he can't, and what he can say. So it's like he does go off on these rambling ass fucking answers, but at the same
Oh,
time, it's almost like
dude.
he knows exactly what he's doing at the same time because he knows what not to go rambling about. You know what I
Well, he
mean?
does, and it's like he said, he will eventually somewhat get back to it. So it's not like he forgot,
Yeah.
like say like a Biden or something where he just forgot what the fuck he was
Hmm.
talking about.
You just got to wait it
Trump
out.
just yeah, Trump just can't help but some word catches his fucking attention while he's talking, and then he goes off into a different story. But
Yep.
it will, like he said, it weaves back into the same story. But it's like, just answer the fucking question. My
Yeah,
God,
and like I have the impulse control to control stuff like that, but I do often hear like just random words or something that'll trigger a memory from like 15 fucking years ago that'll just remind me of some big story. Now, like I said, I won't go like just random rambling off onto them, but I guess I get it if because I do have some trigger words that I'll hear and I'm like, oh shit,
yeah, yeah,
what
yeah.
about that? And it'll be just some old shit, but and
But
then
you
he was
figure though,
also
if somebody asks you a question, though, I mean, you
well, that's what I'm
answer
saying.
it. You know what I
Yeah, I have
mean?
the impulse control to not
Yeah,
turn left, but
yeah.
they were talking about Robert Kennedy too. Good bit.
RFK.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
with the
yeah.
Trump bringing him in on this committee for the pharmaceuticals and shit and like the health, eh?
Yep. Yeah, they both like him right now, but I mean, Trump. I mean, let's face it. Trump is only a fan of him because he dropped out of the race and joined his team. If not, he'd be
Yeah,
sitting up there, calling him. He'd have a nickname for him, But that is
he
one of
said
Trump's faults. If you're not loyal to Trump, he's coming at you. You know what I
he
mean?
said
There is no on the fence. You're not on the
no.
fence with Trump at all.
Mm-mm. He said you do know Kamala has a very low IQ, right?
I know he kept calling her stupid. I was listening to Rogan. He was talking about when they brought up the polio vaccine, how Trump was talking about how great of a job it did. And
Mm-hmm.
I happened to catch a few episodes back where Rogan was showing the stats that by the time that vaccine came out for polio and they started pushing it to sell it, polio had pretty much dropped off by then. So the vaccine wasn't what stopped polio from spreading, but
Hmm.
he said today, I guess it was today, he recorded a new episode. He said he didn't have the heart to like check Trump on that right then and there. And it
Yeah.
was funny because I just heard them talk about that in a previous episode, and I'm waiting. I was waiting on Joe to jump in and say, "Well, that's not true," but he never did. He
Yeah.
held it, but he wanted to. He said he wanted
Well,
to, but he
because
figured he
he
wouldn't do
did
that.
mention the polio spike in what they say, the Gaza Strip.
Yeah, yeah, but
And
it's like
Joe Rogan was
Rogan
saying, I
said,
think it's coming from the
yes,
vaccines.
Right,
You
because
know?
he, like I said, he just did a episode with somebody talking about that broke down exactly what happened, and sure enough, you could Google a chart, and it shows you how the actual polio virus, that shit was I'm not gonna say wiped out, but it was
Yeah.
way down by the time they even
Mhm.
came out with this vaccine. Then the vaccine started, you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
everything. I mean, it's that. So apparently, from the beginning of time with these vaccines, it's all been a money grab. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Because herd immunity had done taken over with polio pretty much, and people were starting to kind of get past it. And then all of a sudden they're like, well, we got a medicine for you.
Yep.
And we've seen that, recently. So,
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, I kinda said the same thing kinda with COVID, is like any new disease you have that comes around, people are gonna die. Like, it's just humans die. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, we don't live forever. Shit kills us.
right.
All right. So the people that are gonna die from it are gonna be a huge spike in people at the beginning, right? It's like
Sure.
the people that are going to die from it, the numbers shoot way up, and then the people that aren't as susceptible to the terrible effects of this virus will get sick and live on. And I assume that's exactly what the herd immunity kind of comes from.
That was
Is
exactly that. Well, that's
you know
exactly it. Yeah. It's basically survival of the fittest, and it's
exactly,
a,
yeah, yeah.
it's a shit way to look at it because we lose lives, but it's
But it is
true. I
what
mean,
it
it's
is,
it's the
man.
more vulnerable people in society. Being your elderly, they're always
Hmm.
vulnerable. They say obese.
Yeah.
Anybody that's just unhealthy altogether. I mean, your body can't fight off these new things that come around. You know what I mean?
Right.
And we'll be there one day. I mean, we're going to hit the elderly spot if we live long enough to reach that. But it is what it is. It's just part of life now. But that was the main problem when all the pandemic came, was the way that they were wanting to put everybody under one umbrella when it came to how we treated that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Whether it be the vaccine or whether it be, everybody staying home. I mean, it was all
Yep.
just a mess, because it's like, why are you treating me the same way you're treating somebody that's got, comorbidity, just they're
Y-
overweight, they may have diabetes already, or they may be dying from cancer, so
Yeah.
they're very susceptible to this virus, and we're all being treated the same. Like yourself, you're a
Yeah.
young, healthy 30 something year old man, and they want you to be treated just like somebody
To lock
who's
myself in the
on
house.
hospice. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I like my stimmy checks. They were nice, right? But
Stimmy checks would be nice.
but like imagine what they could have done for the people that had they have had some kind of application process and been like, look, now we know how applications in the government goes, but all right, theoretically,
Yeah.
application process, if you are immunocompromised, if you are of not great health, you need to stay home from your job. You need to stay in the house. And instead of giving everybody $1,100 twice, then they can give these people money to stay home
That,
longer.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah, well, I guess it just, there was so much more behind that.
Yeah.
It wasn't, it wasn't about really keeping anybody safe, man. It was kind of, I think Trump and Rogan touched on it, that, that was a mastermind way to, you know, take that last election, basically.
Yeah.
If that's what happened, it's like, not saying they created it for that
It was
reason, but they
convenient.
damn sure used it. Yeah, it was very convenient for them to use that. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's that's they don't have it this time, so I don't know what they're gonna do this time. I mean, I don't know.
Man, we're a week away. I mean, what can they do?
I know, dude. That shit's creeping up, man.
I
So
know it.
close.
We are a week away. It's
Wow,
crazy.
I can't wait, dude.
What was some other big talking points on that? I feel like
On
there
that
was a
one, man.
lot.
Well, it was hard because there was only like 5 questions. It was like,
2 hours and 15 minutes.
they talked UFC and boxing for a little bit.
Yeah, they did.
Uh, what else did they discuss?
They talked
Elon
about
Musk a little bit,
Elon, electric cars.
yeah, and basically, and Trump still saying that if he were there, this shit going on with Russia and Ukraine, it would have never
Yeah,
happened. And I believe it, because none of that shit happened while he was in office.
I believe it too. I
And then
do.
that's what Rogan was trying to get out of him, like, but what would you do to stop it? And
Yeah.
he eventually had to come out and tell him, well, I can't tell you what I would
Yeah,
do,
he's like, "I'm not gonna tell
but
you what." Well, he
yeah,
said, "I'm not gonna tell you what I told him," because he's like,
hmm,
I talked with
yeah,
Vladimir and told him, yeah, and you're not gonna go in there basically." And Joe's like,
yeah,
"Well, would you tell?" He's like, "Well, I mean, it's unprofessional. I'm not gonna tell you what I told him. Maybe he
yeah.
will, but."
Well, and it was that one, and then it was like, what would you do to stop it type thing. And that
Mhm.
was another thing. He's like, basically, I'm not going to tell you my tactics. You know what I mean? Like, why would I
Yeah.
let the opposing party or whoever, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to tell y'all how to do your fucking job. If I'm in there, I'll do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and he talked about
So,
the, Xi whatever the fuck, China
oh,
guy.
from China?
Yep, yep.
Yeah,
Talked about him with Taiwan. He talked about North Korea hanging out, comparing their big red buttons, you
yeah,
know?
yeah. Like you said, it was. I guess it was interesting, but it left a lot to,
It
like I
depends
said, to
on
be
what you were
desired.
hoping out of it.
Well, I was like I really was thinking that Rogan. I mean, I know how good he is at these long form conversations, so I was
Yeah.
really hoping he was going to be able to pull a lot of shit out of Trump. But I guess Trump being Trump, you're not going to do that
Well,
to him. You know what I mean?
yeah, and I think that's why I didn't mind it as much. Like, I really didn't because I wanted to hear Trump on just a talking side of Trump, like who he is, not
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
political Trump up on the stage or
But
in a 60-minute interview. Or I wanted to hear Trump in just a free setting, being able to talk about what he wants to talk about, and
and
it's like it does suck that we're a week out from the election. You would think you'd get some, but
yeah. Well, and the thing with that is like I don't know if you never get the real Trump or it is the real Trump, but he is constantly selling himself. You know
he
what I
is. I
mean?
noticed that.
He
Yes.
can't stop. Everything's the best, and he'll veer off of a conversation to tell you how beautiful these buildings are. We'd make some beautiful buildings,
Yep.
big math, and it's like we get it. I just don't think he can break that habit of building the Trump brand. He doesn't stop, dude.
He's like
You know?
he's like a well articulated Kanye, when he was talking about
Yeah,
the windmills, he's like, and the
yeah,
windmill, and then you have like it's a windmill junkyard. He's like, they say you can't bury, you can bury him. They say you
yeah.
can't
You can
bury
bury
the
it.
things, and I'm like,
You could, yeah.
fucking. He's like, but speaking of windmills, when we were in office, we had so much more energy.
Yeah,
We just didn't need it. Everybody had
we
clean
did.
drinking water, and I'm like, bruh,
And it's like, and that's cool. Like, I guess if you're going to tout what you did as president, because that's what you're basically on Rogan for. But it's like, you can't mention a building without Trump telling you how beautiful the buildings
oh
are.
yeah.
It's like, we get it, dude. That wasn't the
Yeah.
question.
And
You
then,
know,
like, no
I
matter
think
what the question was, he would be like, oh, da 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 da, I'd ask him a question, and he'd be like, yeah. And, you know, when we were in office, it was just so much better of a place. And then he'd start going with the question,
yeah.
with the answer, and every time.
I, and I tell you what, I didn't think the fucking story about the fucking plane landing at night was ever going to end.
Oh my God.
It's like, and you
You
wouldn't
won't
believe how dark it
imagine how
was.
dark it
Not
was when I
no
tell you
lights at
dark.
all. It was dark.
You
It
couldn't
was
see a
so dark.
pin
It was
light.
dark.
And then I asked the pilot, "Are we all right?"
Uh,
Yes, we're all right. And man, I looked out the windows and it was so dark, so dark. Like you
people,
just imagine dark, and it was darker than that.
it
You
was
know?
darker than that. It was. We had the most dark ever. It was. And look, people tuning in is going to think we hate Trump, and that's not the case at all. It just it. But it is what it is. I mean, you
Yeah, we
call
can
it
make
what it
fun of
is,
both
and he's
sides,
very
man.
long winded. He is very much about promoting Trump and
Mhm.
and not just as president. You know what I mean? Just my God, yeah. Look, we have the best, tallest building. It's true.
That's what it
Everything
was,
with
man.
him, and sometimes I'm
But
thinking, dude, will you stop? Just answer the question. You know?
you got to think like even before the politics, like it's probably just a business mind. Like
It
anytime
is,
he walked into
yes,
a meeting trying to get money or trying to spend money or like invest in it, like he had to sell himself. Of I can do
yeah,
this. Look at this building I built. Look at the money that I've made off of this. We made so
yes.
much money off of this last sale of real estate and it was a beautiful. It wasn't that great before we bought it, but we made it a beautiful building and we sold it for 15 million more than we bought it for. I could just see that
Well,
out of Trump.
and that was my thinking that I don't like think he does that on purpose. I just
Right.
think he spent the majority of his life selling the Trump brand. So you
Yes.
don't just turn that switch off. I just
No.
think it's who it is. Some people hold that against him like it's, like he's purposely out there just throwing his ego around. I don't think he can help it. I'm telling
I don't think it
you,
can
it's
either.
just like you said. The man has been in real estate and just in business so long that I just think it's in him that when he
Yeah.
starts talking, you sell that Trump brand. And notice he caught himself when he said that he lost by a little bit that election. And as
Mhm.
soon as he said that, he's like, "Well, I didn't lose." Like you ain't gonna catch Trump saying
No.
anything negative about Trump ever.
No.
You know what I mean? He caught that so quick that he noticed he said that I actually lost something. You know what I mean?
It
He's
was
like,
funny
"Well, I
when he
didn't
was
actually
talking
lose."
about the polls being fake. He's like, I mean, I don't want to get in trouble, but I don't think
He
they run the
said
polls.
it.
I don't think they run them. I think they just say, Trump's up by 5. Here you go.
And then he
Except
said it in a
they take
joking
five hundred
manner. He's
thousand
like,
dollars and
well, and then he goes, "No, I like the polls that are for me, and I don't like the ones that are against me." And then he kind of joked like it was a joke.
yeah.
But
He
yeah,
said, I don't believe
it's
the ones that have me down. When they're for me,
yeah,
I think
yeah,
they're real. I think they're real.
yeah. But he's right. I mean, people. I mean, that's a money grab too. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I never thought of it that way until he said it.
Yeah.
That why if you're a pollster kind of company or whatever organization, why the fuck wouldn't you take money from somebody if one side
Yeah.
wants to give you a $500,000 to say, hey, look,
Yep.
we need you to release a poll. Like, I mean, why wouldn't they do it? Every other
Why
fucking
wouldn't
business is
they? Yeah, and
corrupt.
it's
I
like,
mean,
oh shit. Well, let's say they're up, so they come pay us again. And we've talked about it before off the podcast. Of I or anybody I know has never been called for a fucking poll, and Trump said the same thing. He's
no,
like, I don't know
yeah,
anybody that's ever been called
anybody.
by a pollster.
Yeah,
Nobody ever.
and I know Rogan's mentioned it a couple of times. He said the people that answer those things, it's the people that know lies. They have nothing else to do. It's like who
Yeah.
the fuck takes time to answer one of these stupid polls that come through? I don't
Right.
do it. I get them text messages, and I'm thinking, go fuck yourself. Like I'm not
I
answering.
always
I don't
think
have
they're a
time for this shit.
scam. I'm like, I'm gonna
Yeah,
click on
that's
this
another thing.
link
I'm
and they're
not
gonna get
clicking
my
that
social
fucking.
security.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm like I'll do the poll, the voting when I go into the damn booth. I'm not doing it over text message. Leave me the fuck alone.
Right. And it's like
You
there's so
know.
much information out there on politics, like as far as people's political party that they follow, that like if you were a poll being hosted by CNN and you're getting batches of information, why would you not send 90% of the polls that you want answered to Democrats and
Yeah.
10% to Republicans? And if you were,
Right.
Fox doing one or a Republican pollster, you would send it to, 90% Republicans. And so it's
Yeah.
just it can be rigged so easy.
It can, and I think they touched on it on that where
Oh, they
one of
did.
the polls and they had Trump up so high in one of these states because it makes people think on his side that well he's got this, he's up by
Yep.
fucking 20 something percent. I don't need to go vote. Well, they do that shit on purpose. You know what
Yeah,
I
and
mean?
I don't know which way to look at it, man. I don't know to look at it of like, all right, well, Trump's up by 16%, or if we lived in California, like as a Trump supporter, I just don't know that I'd be like, well, let me go out and vote. Maybe we'll win California. You know what I mean? So I don't know if it makes you want to stay home more if your candidate's up or if your candidate's down by a lot, you know?
Uh, I think it's probably at the same. Like if they're down enough, you're like, well, he ain't. I mean, you know what I mean?
Right.
There's probably a lot of people in California, like places like that it's like it's just a waste. I'm not going to
Yeah,
vote.
exactly.
Trump's not going to win. But if they're telling you, uh, in a state that Trump usually wins, or a swing state is what they usually do
Mhm.
that in. They know Cali. You ain't got to fuck with Cali. They got Cali, but when you go to these swing states, that's where they start putting out these false polls because
Well,
then
yeah,
they can keep people home. You know what I
but I'm
mean?
saying like would
Or
if you lived in Pennsylvania, would you be more likely to not go vote if Trump was up by 16 or down by 16?
uh, gosh, yeah, it's a tough question. But I
Because
see
I
what
don't
you're
think it would
saying.
matter to me. So I'm like, no matter which way they push it, it's like, I
Yeah,
feel like if, a swing state, if Trump's up by 16, Kamala's down by 16. So you would think it would make both sides be like, well, there's no point. I'll just stay home. You know what I
yeah.
mean? So I don't see how that helps one side over the other.
I don't know. I mean, it made sense, like I said, when Trump kind of mentioned it that they throw up that he's definitely gonna win this state, and then people just sit home. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Now I see the other side of that, like you're saying. If they're like, "Hey, Trump's losing," is it going to force people to want to,
Yeah, I
you
mean,
know?
maybe it's a good dice throw, of just like,
Yeah, yeah,
well,
they got to try
hey,
something, you
y'all
know.
go vote, go vote, go vote, go vote. Up, Trump's up by 16. Y'all stay home. Y'all stay home.
What's
You know,
your what's your gut feeling? I mean, you think
I think
you
Trump's
think
got
it's
it.
possible? You
I
think?
think Trump's got it.
I start leaning that way,
I do.
man, sometimes, and then I start remembering how dirty this game is, and I'm like,
Man,
man. But then it's like, why would the Democrats go through the trouble that they go through? You know what I
yeah,
mean? If they could just simply fix it, you know what I mean? That
yep.
easy. Now I don't doubt there's some
And
fuckery going on, but
man, I was saying it before the term came out, the too big to rig shit. You can go back in the podcast. I've been saying this. It's just too
yeah,
big. There's too many big heads that have support for Trump for them to rig the shit. And
yeah.
I mean, I would hate to be let down, really. That's kind of why I've been on the fence the whole time. But I think Trump's got it. I really do.
Yeah, I see a lot of people, a lot more people coming out this time, this go around,
Yep.
because it's like what they did is they created like basically the rock star mentality that, I'm gonna buck the system now. I'm gonna come out and support Trump is what they're
Right.
doing. They made him such a taboo thing to do that everybody's like, well, fuck, I'm gonna go against the grain because that's what people do. Like I said, it's kind of like with rock and roll back in the day, you know what I mean? And when hip hop first started blowing up, it was like, your parents were like, don't listen to that. Well, when you say that enough, everybody's like, man, fuck that. I'm tired of being told
Right.
what to do. And I think they touched on that during the podcast too, which made a lot of sense. I mean, you start telling people enough, don't do something, don't do something, don't do something.
Yes.
Eventually, people want to go against the grain and be like, fuck you, I'm going to do it. And that's what
Yep.
they've created. I think they fucked up by going at Trump so hard. You
I
know
do
what I mean?
too.
Because you could see a lot of young people coming out, a lot of these hip hop people, just a lot of people that would have never come out before, like the Kill Tony guy.
Yeah.
Most people wouldn't have touched that a year or two ago. They
Right.
didn't. Fuck, Rogan used to say, "I don't want Trump on here because I don't want to give him a platform, and I don't want people thinking I'm choosing a side." So he
Yeah.
avoided it for the longest time.
And he
Eventually,
did.
he said,
And
"Fuck it."
I mean, that's crazy because that, like, they talked about it in that podcast of how loyal of a person Dana White is because he
Yeah,
didn't give a fuck the whole
yeah,
time. Like, fuck y'all, cancel me. Trump's my guy. Like
yeah.
I'll never turn my back on him, and he didn't.
And why? Yeah, why wouldn't you be like that? Especially now, I understand the people that are on a smaller level that you're risking your livelihood to come out and vocally support somebody. I get that on both
Right.
sides because I mean we do have lives to live. Some people don't have the the opportunity like you and I do to where you ain't canceling us because of who we're voting for. Go fuck yourself. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
We've got that privilege. Now, a lot of people don't. We
Yeah.
know people personally that can't be affiliated with our podcast because of
Absolutely.
how we lean, you know what I mean? And they want to do it, but they can't. So
Right.
you get somebody like even Rogan, like I don't know what the fuck he was so worried about it for. You know what
I
I
don't
mean? Like
know.
why were you avoiding it for so long? Like they can't cancel Rogan. They tried. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Maybe
They
he just didn't
did.
like Trump. Maybe they didn't. Maybe he really didn't like him at first, so he didn't want to give him a platform. Because I
Yeah.
know he did say if it were not for Dana White, that wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
So Dana probably got to him and was like, Joe, I'm telling you, dude, he is not what you think. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah. And
But
I mean, not Joe Rogan because like you were just saying, he kind of does his own thing. So it's like you can't cancel me. I think Dave
yeah,
Ramsey actually said the same thing like not too long ago. There
yeah,
was a clip.
he
He
did.
was like,
Yeah,
"I'm
he said
voting for
it's
Trump. You can't cancel me. I run the show."
that's what he
Like,
said.
fuck
It's my
yeah.
business. You can't cancel me. Yeah,
Right. But I think it's easy to forget how easily people were getting canceled in 2021,
big
2022.
time,
It's
dude.
like,
Well,
dude.
for one, if they weren't canceled, so to say, like it was like somebody like Logan Paul.
Mhm.
Well, he'd be demonetized for having
Right.
Trump on his shit. Well, they don't care now because apparently YouTube and these other platforms have stopped doing that.
Yeah.
That was the problem. It was like it's been said. I want to say Rogan said it multiple times. They were forcing you to censor yourself.
Right.
They didn't tell you you can't have Trump, but what would happen is they'd say, okay, well, you either take that shit down or we'll
Right.
just demonetize that because he's
Well,
fucking literally Hitler, you know?
that and like we talked about it before, where like you know, YouTube money is nice money. You know what I mean? Like nobody
Right.
can debate that. But the money comes from the product placement, the brand deals. So when you've got a $100 million deal with Nike and a $60 million deal with whoever, White Claw, and both of
Yeah.
them tell you, if you say you're supporting Trump, we're gone.
Yeah.
What do you do? Now
What do
you're
you do?
living a $200 million lifestyle.
That's that's my point. Is that some people were pushed into a corner. There was only a very few people that were willing to be like, "Fuck you, I don't
Right,
care." And some people were either that adamant that they just felt so strongly about having that freedom of speech that they didn't care about the monetizing, or they had enough money to where they were like, "I don't give a fuck. What are you going to do? I'm sitting on hundreds of millions."
right.
Well, the average person don't have that. You know what I mean? And
Yep.
they were either, like you said, they were pulling episodes down or they were straight up just demonetizing the shit. I mean, I remember when
Yep.
Dana White was on Theo's and the
I was just
Peloton
about to
shit
say
came
that.
up. Yeah. And he basically told Theo, you're in control of this now. Like, you're big
Yep.
enough. You can tell people like Peloton, go fuck yourself. And Theo was like, oh, yeah, yeah, I guess I can.
I
Like he had,
can.
and he was like, yeah,
Fuck
fuck
Peloton.
Peloton.
And I was about to bring that up because I was gonna say, like, it was kind of dipping down before that, but I feel like that really was a big turning point for some people of like, man, we can just tell these brands to fuck themselves, and it's like if enough
Well,
of us do it, they need the advertisement at the
I
end of the day.
really,
It's like we like the money, but they need the
but they need
advertisement.
it, yeah, because the advertisers are paying these people. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And the company that's paying to advertise, like you said, they need a platform like Rogan.
They're
They
paying for a
need a
reason.
platform like Theo Vaughn, right? Now, I will say, I think another reason that it turned is I think Spotify had a lot to do with that because
Mm,
Spotify is like, look, we don't give a fuck. We're not canceling Rogan. We're not demonetizing people for getting on here and speaking their opinions. You know what I mean? It's
right.
kind of like the Elon strategy. If it's
Yeah,
not illegal, I'm not taking it down. Well,
exactly.
YouTube eventually had to wake up and say, okay, well, these people are just going to start going over there. Because, matter of fact, Rogan mentioned it. He said right before he left YouTube to go to that Spotify deal, as soon as they announced it, YouTube stopped demonetizing his videos.
They
They
said, "Oh
were they were
shit."
demonetizing every single one before that because they didn't like what the fuck he was saying. And as soon as he made that announcement, they clicked that fucking button and they started letting him earn money again. You
Yep.
know what I mean? Because they saw, oh shit, he's leaving.
Right.
He's leaving
It's
his
like,
platform, which was a big move. Now he's back on. YouTube's behaving.
yeah.
You know what I mean? But they saw it. They were like, well, we're going to drive everybody
And
away
I
from this.
just I don't understand the reasoning behind it as far as being YouTube, because it's not like anybody's like, we're gonna stop using YouTube if y'all keep letting these people say this shit. Like, y'all are still making money. You're a
No,
business. Why do you have a political opinion? Fuck off.
well,
You
I
know?
think it became more of a lot of it was to do with like when the pandemic came. I
Hmm.
think a lot of these people were in together, these big time people. They were all in this shit together. They had people bigger than them telling you, look, you need to watch this. Because you got to think about it. Let's say you're the guy who runs YouTube or any of these other, well, you're rubbing elbows with other people that are as high profile as you are. Well, a lot
Yeah.
of them are politically affiliated or they're people that run these pharmaceutical companies. Well, when they're behind the scenes saying, hey, look, we need you to do what you can, to stop this misinformation that's coming. It's
Yeah.
kind of like what the when the FBI ran to Zuckerberg and told him that, look, there's going to be some news come down the pipeline that's going to be it's going to be misinformation about the Russian shit with Hunter Biden's laptop.
Hmm.
Well, they told Zuckerberg that it was going to be fake news. We need you to do what you can to suppress that, and he did it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So imagine how much of that's going on, with all of this,
Yeah.
and I think they get caught up in it. You know what I mean?
I guess $1 million still feels like you're getting $1 million no matter how much you have, because it's like I just feel like once i- if my bank account was to the point where I was just like, I could not work another day and I'm good. Like, couldn't nobody
Well, you,
tell me a fucking thing.
yeah, you feel like you
Fuck
couldn't be
y'all.
bought it. Yeah, you feel like you couldn't be bought at that point.
Yeah,
You
it's
know what
like,
I mean?
fuck y'all. Fuck you
But
and
I
your
don't
money.
think it's money that drives them anymore. You know what I mean? It's kind of like like Elon. Money's not driving Elon. If that was the case, he'd quit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And some people are just it's the control, it's the power. You know what I mean? They get,
Well,
and
yeah,
I'm
and
not
that's what I'm
saying that's
saying.
what
But
happened
nobody's
with
telling
the
Elon, hey. you need to say this, wink, wink, you know? And he's like,
Well,
oh
you don't
shit,
know that, but you don't
okay.
know
And
that.
it's like, well, yeah,
Elon's
but
under
you
Elon's
would
under
think that,
threat every day.
well, I guess they may tell him, but he doesn't listen. Otherwise, Twitter
No,
wouldn't
that's
be
what I'm
as free
saying
as it
because
is,
there's
you know,
certain
or
people
X.
that right, because there's certain people that look at it from a logical way. Like, I'm not doing this. I don't need your money. I don't need you telling me what to do. He's not in that circle with a lot of these people. And
Right.
it's kind of like you hate to say any of this is from a malicious standpoint, but you've got some people that it don't matter how much money they have, they're evil as fuck, and they just want to
Yeah.
control things. I mean, and
Yeah.
and I'm not saying that's what the CEO of YouTube is doing or Google because that's what owns it, but I just think a lot of them get wrapped up in that world that they're in where they think they're doing the right thing. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because if you're being told by the CDC that you need to stop letting people spread this information on your platform because it's going to kill people. Well, if you had that power to do that, why wouldn't you do it if you believe what they were saying? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's just kind of how some of them probably chalked it up to. Because it's kind of like with the Zuckerberg thing, they didn't tell him what the news was going to be, but all they told him it was going to be some news coming out, but it's not true. And this is the FBI. So
Yeah.
Zuck's like, all right, well, fuck it, I'll do what I can, and he suppressed that shit. Well, now he comes out basically apologizing, saying he's not going to do that no more, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. But he was just going by what the FBI told him. Not, don't get me wrong, I do believe Zuckerberg was definitely full in on trying to stop Trump. But when the FBI is coming to you and saying, look, we need you to do this, you know what I mean? It's going to be for the betterment of the country. They got some bullshit coming out that's going to hurt the country. You have the power to stop it. I mean, what do you do? You know?
Yeah. I don't know, man. I feel like if I decided I was going to be a motivational Facebook speaker tomorrow and I was making website articles that dirty needles have zero chance of giving you AIDS, they wouldn't cancel it. They'd just be like, this dude's a fucking idiot, you know,
Yeah.
and move on. So,
Well, and that's
whatever,
that's
you
actually
know.
Rogan's big argument is that the only way to combat, you know, wrong news is to hit it with the right news, or
Right.
misinformation is to hit it with the right information. I mean, don't get rid of it. Let
Yeah,
somebody have a stupid fucking take on something, and then let somebody
exactly.
else come out and say, no, you're fucking wrong because of this.
Yep.
The answer isn't to silence it. I mean, that's a
Exactly.
dangerous road. I
Because
mean,
for one, it makes people feel like you're hiding shit, you know? I mean,
exactly.
even if it is wrong, even if it's wrong information, it
Exactly.
makes people feel like you're hiding shit, you know? So,
And
but
most of the time you are.
yeah,
I mean, we just
yes.
brought it up earlier with the JFK shit. It's the only reason
Yep.
they're not releasing that because there's a bunch of shit in there they don't want the public to know because they're fucking hiding shit. It's not as
Right.
cut and dry as some guy decided to climb up in a fucking building and shoot JFK. If it was
Mhm.
that cut and dry, they'd release every fucking document they had to do with it. You know what I
Right.
mean? Because he's no longer around, you know? But
Yeah.
that ain't the case. I mean, it's going to throw a lot of people under the bus. And I think it gives people that people that are assuming that the government's dirty as fuck, it's giving them that confirmation. And the government
Right.
don't want that because they want us all to live under this fucking belief that they're out doing what's best for the nation. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense, you know?
Of course.
But
Yeah, they don't want that shit
speaking
out, no matter if the people are dead or not. They don't want that news out that the United States government, one way or another, had something to do with the assassination of a president. They don't
yeah.
want that news getting out because then you lose all faith, all trust in anything government.
Yeah, makes sense. But, speaking of getting shot, did you see Trump pointing at his scar?
He was
He
trying to
was
show
like,
Rogan, wasn't he? He's
it's
like, he's right.
like right up in here.
Yeah, yeah. I seen I seen a meme they put out and they had Rogan kind of looking and Trump doing this, and it was like this is the moment Rogan realized that Trump was full of shit about being
Well,
shot.
it was just funny because his fingers are so fat that it like covered his whole ear. So it's like it's right here. It's right
Yeah,
here. You see it?
yep. That was what Tony Hinchcliffe made a joke about that, at the
Yeah.
thing, saying that if you were a Democrat, he was nicked. If you're a Republican, he took a headshot.
Right.
But no, I believe. Look, if people get stupid with that, I mean, I do believe that bullet hit his ear. I don't know if Trump overplayed it because Trump. That's another thing. Like he bled more than anybody's ever bled. When you listen to him,
Yep.
you know, my ear bleeds more than anybody's ear. It's like he was trying to get Rogan to back him on that shit, you know?
Yeah, he
Like,
was like,
in the sport
you
you're
know
in.
how ears
Yeah,
bleed, bloody ears.
yep. And I think he was trying to, like, basically, I don't want to say begging because that's the wrong word, but, wanting Rogan to endorse him so bad, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
He was trying, boy. He was on there kissing Rogan's ass, and, he wants his fucking endorsement so bad. And
he
I just don't
does,
think
but
Rogan's gonna do it,
I don't think he's gonna do it either. I mean, it's I guess it's easy to stay neutral in the situation
Yeah.
if you really are just like, I've been neutral. I'm just gonna kick it. I'll give you a platform. Say what you say. That's
Yeah, say what
fine.
you say.
But
Well, and what I like about Rogan is he offered that platform to both sides, and even
right,
Trump called him on that when he was like, "Oh, he's like, she's not doing it. She was
yeah,
never gonna do it." But
no,
Rogan don't want to hear that. He's like, "Well, how many people tell? But you don't know. I mean, it's like that girl. She ain't sitting down with anybody where it's not a scripted fucking interview,
yeah. He
especially
said
Joe
I had to.
Rogan."
I've worked for 43 days. She did one interview. She had to nap for 3 days.
Yeah, yeah. And the man don't stop. That's what Rogan was talking about on his. Like I said, I don't know if he dropped one today or yesterday or whatever after the interview, but he was talking about how he's like the dude didn't even stop for a pee break. He's like he came in, never went to the bathroom, sat there for 3 hours, didn't go to the bathroom after he left. He's like he don't stop. He was heading off to a fucking rally. You know what I mean? Like the man
Yeah,
don't fucking quit, and it's like how
he's
the
just
fuck
getting it.
could you not want that working for you?
Well, he can run on a treadmill all day, so
Yeah, and he did say that. Yeah, the doctors was like, "Man, we never seen this before. This is like
it's
fucking.
like
I mean, what are you,
like
Iron Man?"
Superman. Like, whoa,
Yeah, I know. When he
doctors
started
couldn't
saying that,
believe
I'm
it.
like, that's what sometimes I'm thinking. Just pull it back, Trump. Pull it back, dude. They're gonna eat you alive for saying shit like that. You
So the
know?
doctors were so amazed they couldn't believe it. They said, "This is the most amazing
Oh,
thing
they
we've ever
were.
seen." I can do
Doctors
this
were.
all
Look,
day.
they were calling in other doctors. Hey, y'all come see this. Y'all come see this. You know?
Y'all got to come study
No,
this
dude.
man.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. The treadmill story. I was like, Jesus, come on, dude. This is why people fuck with you so bad.
It is too.
And I
That's
don't
it
doubt he
right
was
there.
running on a I don't doubt he was running on a treadmill, but when you listen to him say it, there's not another man alive that do what he does.
Usain Bolt couldn't run on a treadmill like
Yeah, but
me.
that's that Trump man. That's that
It is.
mentality. He don't stop.
He is the
Jonathan said
most healthy.
he is the most healthiest person to ever live. Bleeds the most.
It's just
But look, he is good for fucking damn near 80, man. I got to give it to
yeah.
him. I
Yes, he
mean,
is.
like just the contrast between Biden and him. Now, Biden can't help it. He's a little, his mind is kind of going. He
He
can't help
said
that.
something's wrong with him.
Yeah, and there is, but he can't help it. We've said that before. It's not his fault. He's getting old. But Trump is damn near the same age, and the man is fucking. He don't stop. It's like Rogan said. He didn't stop for a second, and then took off to go do a
Yeah,
damn rally, and then he was
yeah,
back at it again today.
yeah. He is. He's
So
active. I guess you just got to stay active, and But it's
yeah,
just the way he was saying it about Biden. He was like, so it's not age. Something's just wrong with him.
yeah. Give me $5 and I'll tell you if I like Israel.
Five
Like
dollars.
somebody, $5 for an answer.
$5 made me holla.
But anyway, what else? What else? What else?
What's going on in the news, man? Anything
I
been?
think your boy's getting all kind of years. I don't keep up with him much. Who's the one that was all in that King Von bullshit?
Oh, you talking
Dirt?
about Lil Durk? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Isn't he like
Man.
gone for a long
Oh,
time?
dude, yeah. Shit he's facing is backed up by death. Yeah, murder
What
for
did he do?
hire.
Oh, murder
So
for hire.
the dude that so King Von is part of Lil Durk's team. Then you have
Yeah.
Quando Rondo, which is in Atlanta, and so Quando Rondo, King Von, boom, they squabble, right? Quando Rondo's boy shoots King Von, kills him. Okay, so back in Chicago, Lil Durk, they cook up a plan. They want to kill Quando Rondo. Quando Rondo goes to California with his cousin and somebody else. They fly from Chicago to California, catch him, shoot the car up, killed his cousin, flew back to Chicago, and Lil Durk set up and paid for the hit.
Chris is
He
still
just
probably
got
dude.
arrested.
Listen, I know. Look, he's probably talking to me, but I don't follow that bullshit. That's past my fucking look, man. I'm old school. I just happened to see a reel come by today, and of course, my dumb ass clicks on it. So now everything in my fucking algorithm is fucking Lil Durk, and
No,
I don't
you
even know.
gotta
I couldn't
watch
name
the
a fucking
memes.
song because that's my like I said. That's I'm before that shit, but I just thought it was an interesting story as far as what went down because your
Yep.
boy that killed him got off, right?
Well, no, so I don't know. Oh, the one that killed King Von? Yes,
Kill King
yes.
Von. Yes, he got off for staying your
Because
ground. Because then you know what I
yes.
did? I wind up on this motherfucker's Instagram today. That's how
Let's
far
him.
down I went down this rabbit hole with these people I've never even heard of.
That's
So
let's
I'm
him,
on his
dude.
Instagram because I wanted to see the comments on it. And of course, they're going ham in the comments, and Bond
Yeah.
Killer or whatever the fuck. So, like I
Yeah.
said, I couldn't name a fucking song by any of these dudes, but I just thought the story itself intrigued me.
Yeah, and it's all drill rap. So like you have NBA YoungBoy, which is from Baton Rouge, and he is with Quando Rondo. Like they're cool. So as soon as King Von dies, they get in the studio, they cook up a song, go pick your man up off the ground. Ha ha, fuck him. He's
Now, what
dead.
what is
He's in
drill
hell.
rap? Is that
So that's exactly what that is,
when you
like
go
our
on that
people
mother?
killed your people. We get in the
Oh, geez,
studio
are these
and we
motherfuckers
are
crazy?
making fun as much as we can of all your dead partners.
What's wrong with these young dudes? I'm from the era where it used to be I can rap better than
No, no, no,
you.
no, no.
Now
Dude,
it's
I'm
like
telling you, they
motherfucker.
got in the studio a week later and was like, go pick your man up. He shouldn't have been swinging on
Wow.
me. His bitch ass is dead, living in hell, resting in piss, fucking da da da, all on a song. So that leads to people flying out of Chicago to go to California and shoot this dude's truck up. And
Jesus.
so the guy that allegedly was the talking man between Little Dirk and the hitters, right? He did 12 years in prison, got out and was wearing a wire for the FBI.
Oh, damn. So he done turned.
Well, yeah, from the time he got out of prison, they said he's been wearing a
Yeah.
wire for years.
Yeah.
And then the FBI, so that's what everybody's like. So this dude's around, he's wearing a wire. And so obviously the FBI knows that this hit's about to happen. And they did nothing to stop it. They
Nothing.
were just like, fuck it. Because he was the one that was instructed to buy the plane tickets, to get them on the plane, to figure out the rental cars. So the
They don't.
FBI's listening to the whole thing, and they were like, fuck it.
They don't
Let
give a
it go.
fuck, dude. That's I've heard Candace Owens and a few other people that touch on that as far as they believe that's what like hip hop was created and it was purposely turned into this, to pit them against each other, you know what I mean, and
Yeah.
start these kind of beefs and shit to where they're killing each other and the drama. Like they believe that shit is government control. Like and she, I'll butcher it if I try to say what she said, but when I'm listening to it, I'm thinking, I mean, they've done worse. I mean, the whole
Dude.
crack epidemic. I mean, that shit.
Yeah.
They threw that shit straight into the fucking hoods, and they made the laws to where they were giving you more time for crack than cocaine because cocaine wasn't typically used by the minorities. You know what I mean? That
Right.
was what they called a rich man's drug. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? But crack and cocaine is the same fucking thing.
Yep.
But then
And
all of a
you
sudden they
get,
slapping all these years because it's called crack. You know
yeah,
what I
you get
mean?
what,
And
like 10
it
years for coke, 30 for crack,
yeah, so it's like, how do you argue against that? That the government was setting up, you know,
I
different
don't think there is
laws
one.
to. That's what I mean. And I look, and I'm usually don't go down that because I don't believe,
No.
all these fucking,
And,
oh, they're out to get me because of my, But hey, man,
well, yeah,
when you
right.
hear the compelling stories about how the crack shit was started, man,
No,
they
but
did some dirty shit.
when there's shit laid out like that, that it's like, okay, I can get behind that. But there's, you hear the stories. I'm gonna just call out the bullshit that you hear. Like, you'll hear a story and it's like that's just obviously bullshit. You just didn't want to
Yeah,
fucking cooperate that day. But
yeah.
then there's shit like that that's like there's no other reason. There is no other reason,
No,
you know?
especially when I forget who said it, but it I never really gave it that much thought. And then when somebody said that about the penalties, for crack compared to cocaine, I'm thinking, well, that is odd because it's the same
It's
fucking
very
drug,
odd. Yeah.
same fucking drug. You know what I
Same
mean? So it's
shit.
like, why the fuck would you get less time? And because they know who's using the crack. You know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
it's hard to think anything else than besides that shit was purposely done, and a lot of it
Right.
like filling prisons is money making. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Like prison is a money maker.
It
It's
really is.
private run shit. These people they don't want these prisons empty because it doesn't pay.
Right.
So they need ways to fill them. You know what I
Like,
mean?
so if we can give somebody 30 years for fucking nothing.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yep.
because I would assume these prisoners are allotted so much money, like the not the prisoners, but the prison is allotted so much
Per
money per
prisoner.
prisoner. It's
Oh
kind of
yeah.
like students in public school. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
you're allotted so much, but you only spend this much, but yet you get this much. Well, you're making a profit the entire time. You know what I
Yep.
mean? And it's a dirty fucking game when you really
It really
start digging
is.
into it, because there's a lot of people that are probably sitting in them prisons that shouldn't be, and it's all because some greedy fuck wants to make money, and it could be any one of us. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Do
They could come
you
down on any of us.
do you believe Robert Santis when he said the other day, I guess the other day, I saw the clip the other day when he was saying that he asked the DOJ how many people in Florida prisons were there for weed? And they told him zero. There were not one prisoner in Florida is in there for weed.
That's what they told him.
That's what he said. I saw the clip of him saying it the other day. He said he asked them because he was like, nobody should be in there because of weed, but we're not going to let it be run like Colorado out here where you can just anywhere you go on the street, there's weed everywhere. He was like, but I asked the Department of Justice out here how many prisoners in Florida prisons were there because of weed, and they told me zero. And I was like,
Yeah, it said there are currently. This is coming from Dixon. I'm trying to see who Dixon is before I just start spouting out names. Tampa Bay, Florida Department. Okay, Florida Department of Corrections Secretary Ricky Dixon. Dixon says there are currently no people in prisons over simple possession of under 20 grams, and fewer than 40 who are serving time for possessing large quantities of cannabis. So what was the point DeSantis was trying to make?
well, because he was saying, I guess they were on the clip was pretty short, but from what it sounded like, they were on the talking point of legalizing weed, but
Yeah.
they didn't want it to be like California and Colorado, where he was basically like, you have a right to not partake in weed if you don't want to. So there's no reason why, and we don't want our city streets to be anywhere you go, it's just filled with weed smoke. And he
Well,
was
here's
like,
what.
I don't believe that people should be in prison for weed. I think it should be legal, and I think you should be able to be away from it if you want to. And then that's when
Yeah.
it came to that.
Well, here's what the article it says: advocates are pushing back against the head of Florida's correctional department after he claimed that passing a marijuana legalization initiative at this ballot in November would actually increase the state's prison population. Well, I don't understand. How do you legalize marijuana, then it increases the population? So let's see. In an op-ed published by the Tampa Bay Times, Florida Department of Corrections Secretary Ricky Dixon said the debate over the cannabis measure, marked by significant misinformation regarding Florida prison system. Various false claims have emerged suggesting that many inmates are serving time solely for low level, blah, blah, blah. But he said that's not the case. It's unclear, but I'm trying to see the legalization initiative that's going before voters would allow adults to possess up to 3 ounces. Okay, but get to the fucking point. I want to see how the hell.
It's going to increase.
Yeah, bear with me. For advocates, one of the main criminal justice reform benefits of passing the measures that it would become legal to buy and possess the amount of marijuana, while people might not be currently incarcerated over low-level possession. According to the secretary, the fact that it remains a misdemeanor means people continue to face arrest. So, so he's saying it's dropping it from a felony to a misdemeanor, but he's still. So what the fuck is this idiot's answer? In the state of Florida, you can be arrested for any amount of marijuana. Felonies begin at 20 grams. Any marijuana, I don't know. How about you just make this shit legal? It doesn't matter. No misdemeanors or nothing.
Right. It's
Like, what is this
fucking weed.
misdemeanor bullshit? Yeah,
So stupid.
fucking misdemeanors. That's the problem, is that he's basically saying it's still going to be against the law. It's
Yeah.
just not going to be a felon up into a certain
So he's
amount, I
saying
would
that
think.
people
But
are going to think that they can carry it openly and then get
I
arrested for
guess
it.
that's what this idiot's getting at. It's probably somebody who's never smoked a fucking joint a day in his fucking life that
Absolutely,
wants to
man.
set laws for this shit. You know what I mean? Never been around it. He just always heard growing up that weed is bad and it's a gateway
It's
drug.
so bad. You remember
You
the
know?
commercials back in the day? People be
Oh
sinking into the
God, yeah.
The
Yes.
dog's disappointed and shit.
Yes. When I was coming up, it was, "This is your brain on drugs," and they'd be frying an egg, and it was all most of it was directed towards marijuana use, like, "You're just fucking done." So, look, I grew up with that mentality. I
Yeah.
remember when I was God, I must have been almost 17, 18 years old. I was at a buddy's house and he pulled out a book that his father had. His dad wasn't home, but when he opened it, it was like a photo album, but it had a big marijuana leaf in it. I thought that was the craziest shit. I'm like, holy shit. Oh, what the fuck, man? He's got a marijuana. I mean, to me, it was like looking at a dead body, because
Yeah.
that's the shit I was taught in school and coming up. It's the marijuana is the devil.
Yep.
And then, you grow up a little bit and you start to realize, well, wait a second, this is fucking
Yeah.
stupid. You know what I mean?
Just
But
one
a lot of
weed
people
will
are like
get
that,
you.
including these fucks that are making laws. They still
Absolutely.
think like I thought. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And then they're out there allowed to fucking make laws and judge you. You know?
Yep. They said they convinced them to pass the original weed laws because they started making videos of like fake interviews with people that they took a hit off of a blunt one time and like beat the fuck out of their wives and shit.
Woo! Yeah, you
They're
ever
like,
did that?
see, if you
I
if
don't.
you if you smoke weed, they're gonna kill you're gonna kill your
Yeah.
wife. Like that's what happens. And it's like, come
Well, the big push was it was a gateway drug when I
on.
was
Yeah,
young. Like if you smoke weed, next thing you know, you'll be sucking dick for
you
crack,
get
within
sucking dick
about
for
3 months.
rocks in the back.
Yeah. That's how they
Oh,
sold it when I was young. It was gateway. That's because I guess they got past the point of trying to tell you how marijuana could hurt you,
yeah,
but they wanted to let you know if you smoke it, it's gonna lead to this. And I'm
yep.
like, come on now. So
Yeah.
anyway.
On maybe a good note, I don't know. Let's see how you feel about it. The Menendez brothers should soon be eligible for parole.
Yeah, have they made a decision on that? Like the
Uh,
judge? Because I know they were going back to
Menendez
court, and the
brothers
judge was
eligible for possible immediate parole as Louisiana.
Louisiana.
Los Angeles DA recommends resentencing. Judge will consider case next open up next month. And this was 3
Okay.
days ago.
Yeah. Because I know they were gonna. Man, that's a tough one. I've watched a few of the documentaries on them boys, and man, I don't know. I will say I saw something that was pretty compelling. They had one of the documentaries that they were showing. They had some actors portraying them, and
Mm,
they were showing the scene where they were on the stand in court crying about how their father was doing whatever he was, allegedly doing to them.
yeah.
And they were showing how the Menendez boys, the real ones, were better at the emotional part than trained actors. Like, in other words, like, how the fuck can they be acting this out? Like, they hired actors to make this
Oh,
movie, and the actors weren't even as good as what they were.
right.
So people were saying it had to be raw emotions coming out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because their whole claim is that their dad was I don't even know if I can say it on here,
He's
but their dad
abusing
was
the
doing
shit
things
out of
to
them.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was touching them, and he was, what I mean. He was doing things, and so they killed him. You know what I mean?
Right.
And like I said, when you watch them in court, they of course they get emotional about it, and then when you see that side by side of these actors that can't even touch the raw emotions that these boys had on that stand, and I'm not saying they're innocent. I know there's people out there that are going to be like, "Man, you're fucking stupid, those boys,"
Yeah.
but I'm just saying it. I looked at it like, well, damn, that is kind of interesting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because
Like I'd be
it's hard to
fooled if I was
fake.
on the jury.
No, well, yeah. I mean, like I said, when a fucking actor can't even do it as well, you
Right.
know. So
Yeah.
I don't
So
know. I
what
mean,
was
maybe it was
like
an actor.
with the mother? Like, were they did she know? Like, was that the so she had to go too, or
Yeah, I want to say that that was their claim. Was that she wasn't doing anything about it. And look, they may have just been two evil little fucks. You know what I mean?
yeah?
I don't know, but they are getting a chance now. I guess a chance for parole don't mean they're getting paroled, but
Well, the
you know.
DA is recommending it, so
Oh, the
guess
DA
we'll
is.
see. Yeah, that's what he's.
Wow. Yeah, I haven't read up on it much. I just know I seen it come across the headlines, and I was like, boy, that shit's been going on since I was in fucking high school, man. It's fucking Menendez boys.
Says so. The prosecutor is recommending resentencing for the siblings in a delayed downtown LA press conference. and surrounded by members of the Menendez family. The DA said Thursday his office will file a motion with the court tomorrow that their life sentence be lifted if an LA Superior Court judge resentences the brothers for manslaughter instead of first-degree murder. They could walk out of prison soon.
Oh, they'll
Said,
be done because they'll give them like time served on that shit.
"Yep,
Yeah, if they reduce them charges like that, I think they will walk.
I think so too."
How long they been in there? 30 years
Yeah,
after killing their parents.
30 years.
I was trying to see.
Now, do you think they
So,
can get out and be positive members of society?
I don't know, man. I think one of them's gonna be working at Cracker Barrel, and you know,
I think their
yeah.
best
Which
bet is to strike a book
no.
deal or
Oh, I
something.
was gonna say if they get out, they're gonna be fucking wealthy. Cause yeah, you think you man, look, at highest bidder. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I didn't think about that. Yeah, they'll be wealthy because that's been a story for 30 fucking years. So
It
imagine
has.
the book deals that are going to be thrown at them. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And the interviews because you don't do interviews for free. You
Right.
know what I mean? CNN or whoever, it's like, that's fine. 50 grand, we do interview. You know?
Yep.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't think about that, dude. Yeah, they won't be working. That's for sure. I was trying to
They
see
all
what
did doing it
they,
wrong.
Mendez brothers claim. I was trying to see what exactly their RAPE. That's did he just spell rapper with one P? What was that Eminem
Yeah. Yep.
said? I just caught
He
the
didn't
whole
spell
time I'm
rapper
listening
with
to him
one
saying
P, did he?
I'm listening to him saying essays, so many essays, and I didn't know what the fuck he was talking about.
Yep.
And then I just caught it. Somebody brought that up and asked Ben Shapiro the other day,
That's
do you think men are be victims of essays? And Ben kind of looked at him. He's like, sexual assault. And I was like, oh, it hit me right then. That's
he's
what M was saying because
that's
I
what
didn't
you
get
gotta
the
say on
essay part.
TikTok.
Yeah,
That's how you gotta say it on
yeah.
TikTok. So that's where it comes from. He didn't just spell
Okay,
rapper with
yeah. See,
one
I didn't catch
P,
it.
did he?
I wasn't. Yeah, I wasn't looking at deep into the whole essay, like that part of it. I caught the P Diddy with the leaving the P out, but I was lost on the essay, and then
Yep.
like I said, it took Ben Shapiro on there with some trans person. I'm like, the first thing I thought was Eminem. I was like, oh shit, that's what the fuck he was saying in that
Yep.
song. Yeah, it's crazy the shit that goes through your mind. Hey, Brad, welcome. Glad you joined. Look, we're taking
What
donations.
about?
We accept anything. Of course, we'd rather, three figures up. So if you
Yep.
take that how you want, we appreciate you tuning in. Hope you subscribed.
Hope
All
so.
right,
Five
let's see what
hundo or
these.
don't send it.
That's right. I was back to the Menendez. I was trying to see what their argument was in the beginning. Man, they're talking, RAPE and shit. I was trying to see how the mother was involved.
Yeah, that's the one thing I was wondering is how she was involved.
Yeah, I'd have to read, so I ain't reading all
Yeah.
that. But
Well, I want to, I guess, kind of shifting gears. I didn't know about this, and I want to kind of explain it and ask without sounding like I'm for it, because I'm totally against it, and I'm glad the
oh,
law is in
that's
place.
scary.
But so they have a thing, which is probably going to sound worse now that I've started like that. But so they have a thing. It's called child sex tourism, right? It's basically where these rich fucks, right? They go to other countries where they don't have, um, you know, sexual laws with children, right? They don't have laws against
Right.
it.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
So they
yeah.
leave from here to go there, right?
Sure, sure.
Now, so in the US, we have laws in place that you can still be prosecuted in the US for sex
Even
crimes,
if you're
even if you go overseas to a country where it's legal and do it, right?
cool,
Now, great,
cool.
that's awesome.
If
I'm
you're a
glad.
citizen. Yeah.
But the only thing is I'm like, how, what stops it from stopping there versus like, okay, I left from Louisiana to go to
Yeah.
Amsterdam to smoke
Yeah.
weed,
I see where you're
or
going with it. Yeah.
you know what I mean?
I get your point that, of course, in the example you gave in the beginning with the children,
Yes,
it's like, yeah, whatever, cut their
love it.
fucking heads off. But it's like you said, if, if I go to Colorado to smoke fucking weed all day long, but it's illegal where I'm at. Do I
Right.
come back home and get arrested for that shit? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, yeah, it's a good point. Like you said,
You
it's
know?
tough. It's a tough
It
subject to
really
bring up
is.
because it makes you sound like you're for it. But I
Right. I was
understand
like, I
the
don't wanna I
question.
don't wanna sound like I'm trying to get them to reverse this law because it's a
Yeah, like
great
you were
law.
about
I'm
to go out of
glad
the
it's a
country. You
thing.
know?
Yeah, like I just booked my flight, you know? Like, no,
Yeah,
I'm
it's like
glad
how
that
can you
they
be
do,
charged
but
for something? How can you be charged for something you did overseas back
right.
home in America?
Now now I think if you read the law, I think a lot of it is the premeditation about it because it does specifically state that if you were going for that reason, like I want to
Right.
go to wherever they allow you to have sex with minors,
I got it. Yeah.
just to do that, then you can be prosecuted when you get back. So I don't think it's like, oh, I went to China and got linked up with a 16-year-old while I was out there, 17-year-old, and you get back and you're going to prison.
I
Maybe,
got you.
I don't know, but you know, um,
No, I see
so
what you're saying, but it's like it has to start over here in America.
yeah,
Which like I said, I'm totally with that, but it's like it's a fine line because then it's like if I'm sitting there and saying, hey, when I go to Colombia, I want to buy a bunch of cocaine. You know what I'm saying? Well, then
right,
I fly over to Colombia and I buy it, but I never come back to the states with it.
yeah.
How can they charge me with possession of cocaine? You know what I mean?
Right. Like you fly over there, you buy, 2 kilos, 3 kilos, you go 15 miles up the road, you sell it and make a profit. So now you're
Yeah,
an international drug dealer, but
right.
you
And it
can't be
may just
charged with that when you get back, and it's
no,
like, what stops
it
that?
may just be a special law they made to help with the child trafficking. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So that may be all that's about. But yeah, it is an odd scenario. You break the law somewhere else, and then you're held accountable, and you know what I
Right.
mean,
And I
back
didn't know that
home.
was a
But
thing. I was like, what? You
yeah,
know?
yeah, I think it's
That was
just them
crazy.
trying to crack down on that shit because apparently that's a
And
major problem, dude. I mean,
yeah,
I had no clue.
if I'm not wrong, is that not what Carol Baskin's husband was accused of doing? Like he was going over there to like fuck the kids or something?
It may have been one of the stories that came out. I don't know. I don't remember that one, but there ain't no telling. I wouldn't doubt it. But I seen but they said Tiger King, he was just sick, man. He was in prison.
Yeah.
Scabies or something he got?
Oh,
Yeah, he got some kind of shit where he was being
Jesus.
quarantined or something. Yeah. So he's begging. He's hoping Trump will pardon him. I
I
was surprised that
know.
didn't come up on the Rogan thing. Rogan should have asked him, "You go pardon Tiger King?" Damn it.
Yeah. Dude, I'm telling you, we need to write Tiger King a letter and get him on.
Have you watched speaking of Tiger King, the ones that the people who made that documentary about Chimp? I think it's called Chimp Crazy or something. It's
Mm-mm.
about these people that own these fucking chimps and all the
Oh,
fucking ways that it goes wrong. Well, the
well, is
same
there
people that
another
made Tiger King, they made this one. And of course, it's the same thing where they find some loony
a
to be
Joe
the
Exotic?
focal. Yeah, and they said they don't even mean that. They were talking about because they were on Rogan's podcast, and they said they never even started off with Joe being the main character. He just became that. They were just doing
Yeah.
a documentary on big cats being owned, because they're activists for these animals,
Yeah.
basically. So they said, but when you run into somebody like Joe Exotic, it's like, how the fuck do you not make? And they did it with this one. They found a woman that's just as nuts as Joe is Exotic, and she became the focal point. But they said they didn't meet her until they were well into the documentary. But
Gotcha.
it's a good one. It's a lot of good stories and a lot of little twists and turns in it. If you ever get time, I think it's called Chimp Crazy, but it's a same thing. People housing these big ass chimps like they were them tigers with Tiger King. And of course shit goes wrong, and it's motherfuckers are vicious, man.
Yeah.
Like they said, you get about 5 or 6 years out of them chimps, and then they become where you just can't. You're not handling them, especially the males, because they
Yeah.
become fucking men, and they will fuck you up with the quickness, dude.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was
People,
big a couple years ago. There were a couple chimp attacks. It's
they fuck people up, man.
man, did they ever find out how old that like did they ever release how old that sheriff's daughter was, the one that shot that judge?
No, I never did hear anything else about it, honestly.
And I kind of heard like them alluding at it, but I never heard the age because I was watching a story the other day, a short story on it, and one of the questions asked was the judge doing anything illegal by
Right.
contacting the sheriff's daughter? And the answer was potentially. So to
Well, of course,
me,
depends on
that
what he was doing.
alludes that she was underage, you know?
Yeah.
But
Yeah, because
I,
I
you
guess it
know,
depends. If he was just like, "Hey, how you doing?" and left it at that, there's probably no crime there. But
but what other reason
apparently
would
that
he?
dad saw something.
Well, he dialed his daughter's phone number in the judge's phone, and her
That's
number
what I
popped up as
mean.
a contact. So what other? He's like, "What the fuck do you have my daughter in your phone
But
saved as a
do you
contact
think it
for?"
was just that forced him to that, or do you think he saw something?
I think it was. I think that was the situation. Like, I don't think he walked in there and like without any foresight, and was just like,
But
"Let me
did
check
you
the
hear
judge's phone."
what he was saying when they were arresting him?
Mm-mm,
He
no,
was screaming that they were trying to kidnap my wife. They're trying to kidnap my daughter. So it was almost like he saw something in that phone. Now, was
right?
this judge fucking around with his wife and she was talking about leaving and going with him and with the
Maybe.
kid? Because he was mentioning his wife and his daughter, according to
Mm,
reports, that he was
yeah.
kind of screaming that. So it's a very strange story that
So
you ain't really heard any details about. But
yeah, I think the phone was like like it broke the camel's back type
yeah,
thing, But I
yeah,
think it was like he went in there with a purpose for sure. Like,
yeah,
all right, I'm
you're
gonna
right.
go in there, I'm gonna check this phone. If this shit's here, I'm telling you it's over with. And it
Yeah,
was.
because yeah, there was more to it. I'm with you. I think it was building up. Something was going on. He didn't just
Yeah.
see his daughter's number and decide to go blasting,
No.
Something something built up to that,
Yeah,
and
because I
that may
mean,
have
you
been the
think
last straw.
you would have to have a reason to go and grab any other man's phone and dial your wife or your daughter's
Exactly.
phone number in it.
Yeah.
You're just not going to walk up to every man and be like, "Let me see your phone. Let me see.
Let me see what
Oh,
he
she's
had.
not in there. Okay, cool, cool, cool."
Nah,
It's
he
like,
knew something ahead of time, and that was just proof, I guess, when he saw it in the phone. It was like,
yeah,
and the story will come out eventually, but it's just so early into it. They're not really releasing details. But I know, like I said, one of the reports is that he was screaming something about they're trying to kidnap my wife and kidnap my daughter and shit like that. So I don't know.
eh,
I don't know. But hey, man, if he was fucking with his daughter, then they need to let him out. But
yeah,
I don't know if
right.
it's gonna be that cut and fucking dry, So, but anyway, well, let's wrap it up. We've been running for 83 minutes.
I got
Unless you
one
got
more.
something else, go
I got
ahead,
one more before we
hit it.
go. Okay, so I know how you feel about it, but how do you feel about giving your DNA to the 23andMe motherfuckers?
Did you just say you know how I feel about it? But
I do, but the viewers don't. The
I know,
viewers
I'm just
don't.
fucking with you because I don't know. We've never talked about this, so you don't know how I feel about it.
We have because somebody we know did it, and it was
Oh, okay. Yeah,
like,
I think it's fucking stupid. I'm not
okay,
giving my fucking DNA,
I
and
agree
multiple reasons.
because I wouldn't either. Now,
With that
23andMe,
being said, yeah.
yes. With that being said, 23andMe is on the verge of bankruptcy, and in the bankruptcy buyout is going to be potentially included all the DNA
Of
samples
course,
of everybody that has been
of
involved with that
course,
company.
yeah.
So
And
whoever
who's
they sell
buying it?
this company to, don't know.
China.
Whoever they sell it to, probably. So
Well, and
everybody's
that's the problem is
information,
that
their DNA samples,
everything.
everything, it's gone.
Yeah, and you're almost foolish to do that anyway, even if it wasn't a buyout, because you think this shit ain't hackable. Your
Right.
information that's on fucking 23andMe, like
Oh
fuck
God,
you.
dude.
They ain't getting my fucking DNA. I know people that have done that shit, and I'm like, man, I don't give two fucks about my goddamn,
Don't care.
where I came
Your
from, and fuck all
lineage.
that. Now I
Yeah.
know some people do it if they're searching for someone. I
Right.
know somebody personally that did it to find their biological father. You know what I mean? So they did it and
Yeah.
they found him.
Yeah.
But like I said, you're giving a lot, man. You give your DNA away, motherfucker, dude. You know
Right.
what they can do with that? I mean, that is
Yeah.
you. That's
Exactly.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck that.
Yep.
Man, the wrong
And
person get a hold of that shit.
right, and the information they're grabbing with it, like you got to fill out a bunch of shit, and
Oh
it. But
yeah.
so yeah, now it's on the verge of they're selling everybody's DNA basically. But
Mm,
and
mm, mm.
I've been kind of deep diving into the hacking shit, and dude. I'm telling you, we'll do an episode on it, but you'd be surprised some of the shit they have out there and how easy it is just to hack
Easy.
different shit. Like it's
Well, that's like
incredibly easy.
man, it was like that whole Ashley Madison fiasco. I mean, these
Yeah.
idiots were on there thinking that their shit was secure, and the next thing you know, this
And
major data breach comes, and they're
well,
all
see,
panicking. You know?
a lot of those big hacks that you hear about are what they call social engineering hacks, right? Where basically you're the CEO or spokesperson for a company, and I fool you into giving me your credentials, and then I
Right.
get into your account and I go wherever I want, right? But just like backdoor hacking, like, a new update comes out and a lot of the code is sourced from places like, hey, we're going to do this part of the code, this part of the code we need y'all to do, this part of the code we need y'all to do. Well, if anybody along the line has, nefarious motivations, they slip a backdoor code in there, you put it in, nobody sees it, and then, a year, 2 years down the road, they say, okay, it's time to hit that company. And then they just,
I got you.
they hop on in.
Yeah.
Um, it's and there's so many other ways, like, just payouts for, like, Apple had a big one a while back. It was a no-click hack where all somebody had to do was either call your phone or send your phone a text message. You didn't have to
Right.
interact with
Didn't even
either
have to.
one
Yeah.
at all, and it would
Right.
start downloading, what they call Pegasus, which is a
Yes.
pretty
Pegasus.
big.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh yeah. They
and
got
that's
you once
what
they
it
got.
was.
Yeah, I heard somebody else talking about that. Like you said, you didn't even have to click on it. You know what I
Yep.
mean? And it was like once they just had it on your phone, that was it. And they had
Yeah.
everything they needed. Yeah, that shit's scary, but I mean, we live with these things now, it's part of life,
Yeah,
But
and
that's why I
dude.
say you don't go voluntarily
Right.
doing it. I mean, if you're gonna get hacked, you're gonna get hacked. It's gonna happen here and there. But
Yep.
to be giving people like Ashley Madison and fucking DNA, fucking,
23 and me.
like, yeah, 23 and me, like, nah, fuck you. You got to
Mhm.
work for this shit. I'm not giving you my DNA.
Yep. And you know
Fuck
what they
that.
pay for them no-click hacks? Like, if you find one, say you found one today, and you go to the black market with it, instead of going to, like, Apple and saying, "Hey, I found this," you go to the black market, in between 1 and $10 million.
Yeah, because think of what they earned from it.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, so you could basically like auction that shit off on the black market, is what
That's
you're
exactly what
saying.
they do,
Yeah,
yes. They go and post it
yeah.
and say, "Hey, I have a 0-day no-click hack to Microsoft or Apple or Android,"
Wow.
and then you'll have a broker that, you send your code to, your exploit that you found. They'll test the exploit, and then the buyer comes along, whoever you choose when they bid, they'll send them the money. Once they verify the code works, they swap it, send you the money, boom, and yeah,
Gotcha.
1 to
And
$10
that
million
shit'll
dollars
never end because them hackers, they're
ever.
always one step ahead. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And the more this tech, and especially with this way this AI is coming up, I think it's just gonna
Dude.
make it easier. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Yeah, it's
absolutely.
gonna
It's
be. They got
crazy.
a hell of a fight on their hands with this AI shit. That I can promise you, man. It's coming. It's coming.
Yep.
But all
Anyway,
right, let's wrap it up. We'll get back on here. Let me see something. What we had showing about 460 ish. So we'll take it, man. We'll
cool.
fuck yeah. We'll get back on here in a couple days. We'll let. I guess who's playing. They got games on tonight, huh?
They do,
Yeah, they got
yeah.
some shit going on. I don't know
Yeah, the
who's playing tonight.
7:20 game.
May go watch it a little bit of it.
Yep, that's what I'm about to do, hop on fantasy. The
Yeah,
Cowboys are playing right now. Cowboys and the 49ers, second quarter.
49. Yeah.
Yup.
All right, let's get off. We'll
Alright.
get back on Wednesday or Thursday or something. We'll get back at it.
Hell yeah.
Peace.
Later.